My name is Mike, I am a 32-year-old man and I married Kathy, who is 30 now. We got married after 3 years of dating. I work at a local bar as a bartender. I make a living serving drinks and I am good at it. My wife Kathy works as a front desk at a local automobile dealership. She is beautiful and gets a lot of male attention at her office. She is active on social media and posts a lot of selfies, and they attract a lot of comments. Some of these comments are nasty and NSFW. She always tells me to ignore the bad ones and just concentrate on the good ones. As a husband, even the good ones cause jealousy. You see, if I post a selfie, I just get 4 likes and no comments. If she posts a selfie, it gets hundreds and thousands of likes and comments. I cannot compete with that. However, our life goes on and I work hard to ensure that I provide for my wife. I plan to start a family with Kathy, and to ensure that I give her a good life, I started to upgrade myself with further education. I never expected to grow a lot as a bartender. It is just a means to earn a living. I always save my tips, and now it was going to help me with my education. I told Kathy about my plans and she was happy for me and offered her support. I started to shuffle between my work and education. By the time I came back home, I was exhausted both mentally and physically. I still tried to give Kathy my time as she was my priority. Over a span of few months, I saw a change in Kathy's demeanor. She was more interested in her phone than having a conversation with me. I did not pay a lot of attention to it, but it did start to bother me over some days. One evening when I was at the bar, there was a huge brawl that started between 2 groups of visitors, and it was so bad that cops were called and 15 people were arrested. The bar had to be closed for the night and I left for home. I live in an apartment building and went straight up to my apartment on the 2nd floor. As I walked up to my home, I saw the door was not closed and the apartment was dark with all lights off. I saw 2 candles lit up and I took out my phone hoping that this could be a surprise that my wife planned for me and I will film it. I started recording and kept walking and tiptoeing so that no one knows that I am entering. As I reached near my bedroom, I stepped on a men's shoe. I was taken aback and my heart started beating fast. I slowly opened the door and my heart sank. My beautiful wife was riding another man. The man was blindfolded and was holding my wife by her waist. She was doing all the work. Through the low light by the candles, I was able to film them in that act. I did not know how long I was standing there, but it felt like an eternity. Eyesight was straight out of a Mia Khalifa hardcore movie, and it seemed like it got imprinted in my mind. It seems my wife was a different animal that day. She never did that with me. I slowly walked out of my house and ran out towards the nearby park and sat there on a bench. My heart was crushed. I did not know what to do. After sitting there for a few hours, I just decided to go home. I walked in and found Kathy sitting and watching TV. I was appalled at how she had changed within a few hours. I did not talk and just went to sleep on the couch. Kathy came to me and tried to snuggle with me. I controlled my rage and just asked her to leave me alone. I told her that there was a bar fight and I just need to be alone for some time. She went back to the bedroom and went to sleep. In the middle of the night, I got up and went to the bedroom. I searched for her phone and unlocked it using her face recognition. I went through her messages and call logs. I found out that she had been in an affair for the last 2 months with a mechanic who works at the dealership where my wife works. I saw explicit pictures that they had shared with each other. There were multiple videos of them in the act, on my bed. There were more videos that they shot at the dealership in a car. I transferred all the videos and screenshots to my phone and went back to sleep on the couch. I left for my college and I was fuming all day. I called my boss and asked for the day off. I came home and just went on to lay on my bed. Something in my mind told me to check for any evidences in my bedroom. I searched my wardrobe and found a camera. It was this camera that shot the explicit videos that my wife made. I saw the hard drive that contained the videos. I quickly copied the hard drive to my laptop. I also found a packet of rubber in the drawer of the night lamp. I poked all the packets with a pin and kept them back. I also connected the camera with the Wi-Fi, so it saves the data on a cloud server. I knew that both my wife and her AP were not very tech-savvy with the way the camera was set up. So now the next time they went nasty, I will get the video on my cloud server. I giggled at the idea of poked-up rubber. Well, they did get nasty multiple times and used the same rubber that I had poked. I was surprised that they did not bother to check that it is leaking. One fine day, my wife started vomiting and I knew what was wrong. I offered to take her to the doctor and there the doctor told us that she is pregnant. I acted like I was overwhelmed and on cloud nine. The look on my wife's face was priceless. I knew that she did not want the baby. But looking at my joy, she could not say a lot. She said that we are not prepared financially. I shot that excuse down saying that I will work hard. Now she was stuck with the baby. My wife is now 6 months pregnant and phase 2 of my plan. I went to a lawyer and explained what has happened. I also explained how I poked the rubber and now my wife is pregnant. He laughed and then apologized for laughing. The lawyer said that he has never come across such a case in his entire career. He then asked if I am sure that the child is not mine. I told him I am sure, as we had no intimacy for last few months and her pregnancy was discovered after 3 months of dry spell with me. The lawyer wanted to make sure that I was not the father. He also stated that we need go for a paternity test. Going for a paternity test could trigger my wife and I did not trust what she would do. I could not risk that. He said that he has a plan. I told the lawyer that I did not want to be in a situation where I would have to pay for child support for a child that is not mine. He asked if I can somehow get some DNA from the AP. I had no clue how to do that. I called a friend of mine. Dusty was a former Marine and had been posted in Afghanistan for a few years. He was built like a tank. I met him and explained him my situation. He asked if a need to make the AP silent. I said no and told him I just need his DNA for a paternity test. I told him no violence. Well, Dusty is a guy who gets the job done. Next day he came back with a vial filled with some white fluid. I asked him what is this? He told me that this is AP's birth fluid. I wanted to ask but did not ask how Dusty got it. He later told me that he requested him to do it in a cup for an IVF center. He paid him $20 for it. I gave Dusty $20 and went straight to the lawyer. He started laughing once I told him how we got the sample. He then asked for some money and told me that is for some ends that needs to be joined. Next day I got a call from the hospital asking Kathy and me to come for some tests. I knew what is going on and took Kathy with me. She was worried and was anxious throughout the way. We got some samples for tests and Kathy asked the doctor what is that for? He did not elaborate much and said regular test for the well-being of the child. I was sad when he said that. The statement pierced my heart and could not imagine how low I had come for revenge. On one hand I had a cheating wife who was caught on video cheating on her husband and on the other side I had an unborn child who was innocent and was coming to this world because of my actions. I was torn and discussed this with Dusty. He said God has different plans for every individual and you never know what fate lies for the child. He said that the decision lies with me. I once wanted to back out and take care of the child. 2 days later, I got hold of my wife's phone again while she was taking her afternoon nap. I saw some more images and more texts with the AP. This time, however, they were discussing how I was a fool for taking care of their child. My decision changed that very moment. I asked my lawyer to prepare for the divorce as soon as the child is born. I did not want to hurt the child during pregnancy. He said it will be done. In a few weeks we had the DNA reports and it was clear that the child was not mine. The child belonged to the AP. We attached the report to the divorce files and waited for D-Day. I was at the hospital with my wife at D-Day and she went into labor. Once the child was born, they came to me for filling the forms for the birth certificate. I refused to sign them. Once my wife was stable and fine, I went to her with my lawyer and told her that I have refused to sign the birth certificate and want her to put AP's name on the form. She was shocked and went to silent mode. Dusty then walked into the hospital with the AP and took him straight to sign the forms as the father of the child. I could see that he seemed roughed up. Dusty smiled at me and just gave a thumbs up. The AP then signed the documents and came to my wife. I handed my wife the divorce papers and asked that she does not enter my house. I told her that she will be in the hospital for the next 2 days and by then all her stuff will be moved to the AP's place. The AP tried to say something and Dusty then smacked him on the back of his head. It went as we planned and my wife was served. I thought once to take a look at the child, but somehow I could not gather the courage to look at the child. I was still sorry for him as I knew that I would have given him a better life. I left the hospital with my lawyer and Dusty. Later, once I reached my home, I broke down crying and I don't remember how long I cried. Next morning, I sent all of Kathy's stuff to the AP's place. Dusty later told me that not all of the stuff could be put inside his home. Some of it is still lying outside their door. In the meanwhile, I kept getting calls from Kathy and she kept asking me to forgive her. I told her she should save the apologies for the future when her child grows up and she has to apologize to the child for ruining what could have been a better life for him. I got divorced a few days later. In the court I saw Kathy carrying the baby and still I could not look at the baby. I just could not. It has been 4 years since I got divorced. I am working in a consulting firm and I make a good living. I have moved from that city until this day. I regret what happened with the baby. I hope that the baby gets a great life. I am planning to get married in the future and that may be a story for another time. Dear listener, if you have reached this far, please click on the subscribe button. It will be a great help.